To date this single mom boss queen, you gotta make $500,000 a year. Oh, this is really the stuff men strive for, you know what I mean? This, when men wake up in the morning and say, I'm gonna work hard today, I'm gonna go to the gym to get a great start to my day, then I'm gonna work hard on my first business, then I'm gonna work really hard on my second business so that I can become financially successful and meet all of my goals. This right here is at the top of those goals. Being able to date an overweight single mother in her 30s with fat bulging out of her clothes that are 2 sizes too small. This is why we do it. Really, quite frankly, I don't know how I'm going to cope with the loss of this, seeing as I'm not making $500,000 a year and therefore cannot qualify for this next level lifestyle. Really, all I can say is good luck to the next guy. Maybe you'll do better than me. All right, men, let's learn how we can qualify for this boss queen.
Okay, how much money does a guy need to earn to date you?
$500K.
Whoa.
Oh, and the accent. The accent, too.
That's like...
But it's
1%.
possible.
That's
But
1%.
it's possible.
What's possible isn't necessarily...
What's possible is that you lose weight and are not possessed by the insane delusion of feminism, which tells you there's no such thing as right and wrong in accordance with left-wing ideology. But that's actually way too achievable. So even if you did that, you would still not qualify for that level of guy. What's crazy is that these women are going to think that they deserve men earning $500K well into their 40s and 50s. That belief is not gonna go away because feminism has no way of self-correcting itself when it's wrong because correction is oppression. So we're gonna have women that are 55 years old believing in their heads that the patriarchy has screwed them, that they should be with a man that makes $500K and is a simp to them while they're literally bulging out of their clothing.
necessarily probable. And you have how many kids?
Probable? Oh my gosh, that's referencing objective parameters, statistics, distributions? That's oppression. And when he said probable, that's exactly what went through her head because objectivity is the enemy to these people.
3.
You are a sex worker, you're an escort.
Oh
Shouldn't
my
you
gosh, dude, I didn't even know that. It gets worse.
adjust your standards to be a little
No.
more realistic?
No.
Right, that's what I told you. She's not going to adjust her standards. She's going to be 55 years old, buying cat food at Petco, thinking she deserves a man that makes $500,000 a year after doing sex work, after being old and undesirable, not to mention, of course, just the destruction that feminism brings to their psyche. For her to adjust her standards, it would be giving into the patriarchy in her mind, but that's not all. It would be acknowledging that the world has objective parameters which she must adhere to, which she must submit to. And that's more than the feminist psyche can tolerate because they're told that the definition of truth is what their ideology tells them, what their ideology dictates to them, and what their ideology dictates to them is in alignment with an intersectionalist victimhood hierarchy that says the more oppressed you can claim to be, the better of a person you are. Of course, that completely falls to pieces like a sandcastle just blowing away in the wind as soon as you use logic, rationality, or reason to scrutinize any of their positions. But that's the reason they consider those things like reason and logic to be oppression. Therefore, even questions that are asked coherently are considered to be oppression.
You'd rather be alone than lower your standards from
Yes.
500.
And this guy is correct, because that's what it's going to come to. Reality is not going to bend to her ideology, because that's not the way reality works. She will lose, her ideology will lose, she will be childless, but she's going to be resentful. And we're going to have a massive swath of the population that's 65 years old of single destroyed women who call themselves boss queens, even though they're the most destroyed generation of women the planet has literally ever seen.
K a year.
I mean, I got other standards too, but it's like that money-wise, yes.
What are your other standards?
I mean, I
So-
don't want a short dude.
How tall?
I mean, that's just one of my standards. I need a man that is 6'6" and a billionaire. But she's not even attractive, though, so I don't get it. Like, when she looks in the mirror, I don't get it, though. You know what I mean? How does she tell herself she deserves that, is what I'm saying.
How are you?
5'2", 5'3",
What's the minimum height for a guy?
6 foot or taller. But that's like the basics.
So 500K, 6 feet and over. What are your other standards?
I want him to be okay with me
Right, with my past. Yes. Oh, my... Dude, there it is.
having a past.
There it is. You can't make this up. Are these actors? These aren't actors. These are real humans. I could satirize it. I could make it sound absurd, but it literally is already absurd. She just said out loud, I need a 6 foot plus guy who makes $500K a year who's willing to accept my past of being a whore. Bro, this has never happened in the history of the planet. Just to be clear, to be absolutely crystal clear, this has never happened ever before in any generation in human history. Women have never been this delusional.
And do you think you gotta ask yourself, okay, here's all that I
No, she doesn't have to ask herself because As soon as you said you have to, she heard patriarchy. She heard logic, reason, coherence. Utterly unacceptable to the feminist boss queen psyche. Remember, she's going to be buying that cat food like a boss queen.
Want. But what does the guy that I want, what does he want?
Now, of course, it is utterly crazy, but that question never enters women's minds because they are solipsistic and biologically hardwired to only think about themselves. Women think about men's standards and needs in more abstract ways because they encounter them sort of the same way they encounter the physical objective environment. They don't really have a model for the objective world because they're so bad at using logic and reason. So when they run into, let's say, a masculine standard of not being fat or not being too old or not having a terrible personality, whatever the standard may be, they encounter that in the same way they'd encounter getting a traffic ticket when they're stopped for speeding. They don't really care that they were speeding. What they care about is now they have to pay the ticket, and the ticket is a part of their world that they have to deal with. Women are threat assessors in that sense. And so when they see a guy that is put together, let's just use Andrew Tate as an example, tall, physically in shape, financially successful, respected by men in competence and dominance hierarchies, they see in front of them embodied reality that will judge them if they don't have their shit together. But the sickness of feminism causes them to take that data and then consider that to be oppression, when their biology would say, without feminism, oh, that's the man I want to attract. Let me change myself so that I can attract that. Men embody physical, objective reality, and women see that, they appreciate it, and they need it. But without masculinity or that objectively embodied reality, they're lost. And that's why they're so lost, as they've demonized masculinity and said, I don't need it. Of course, they will be educated ultimately by the consequences of buying cat food when they're single, childless, and alone living in a one-bedroom apartment at 65. But that's a very, very brutal way to learn that you were wrong. Because it doesn't even matter at that point if you change your mind, because reality's already judged you to the point where there's no way back. And that's the reason why women need masculinity. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, guys. I appreciate all of you watching.